Hello everyone and welcome to Module 3. This week our focus is going to be on the nervous system and the endocrine system specifically, but we're also looking at the special senses. So for this week there are 3 chapters. Chapter 14, which is the endocrine system, Chapter 15, which is the nervous system, and Chapter 16, which is the special senses. So let's get into it. Chapter 14 is going to introduce you to the endocrine system. The primary function of the endocrine system is to produce specialized chemicals that we call hormones. These hormones are secreted into the bloodstream and they travel to specific tissue and organs of the body. The endocrine system also maintains an internal state of equilibrium, or what we call homeostasis. The glands of the endocrine system include the pituitary, which is a pea-sized organ located at the base of the brain. It is also known as the master gland because it regulates many body activities and stimulates other glands to secrete their own specific hormones. We also have the thyroid. This is the largest gland of the endocrine system. It is H-shaped or butterfly-shaped and located in the neck of the patient, just below their larynx. So it's in the anterior part of the neck. We have the parathyroid. This consists of at least 4 separate glands that are located on the posterior or back surface of the lobes of your thyroid gland. Adrenal gland is a paired organ covering the superior or top surface of the kidneys. We have your pancreas or your pancreatic gland. It functions as both an exocrine and an endocrine gland. Exocrine gland means that it carries secretions outside of the blood system. So for that role, it carries digestive secretions from the pancreas to the small intestine through what we call a pancreatic duct. And the endocrine function, it secretes hormones from the pancreas, which we call glycogen and insulin. We also have the pineal gland. This is shaped like a pine cone, and it is located in the posterior or back part of the third ventricle of the brain. This gland is responsible for producing what we call melatonin. We also have the thymus gland, ovaries, and testes, depending on the sex of the patient. Some terms that we'll use in the endocrine system are listed here on the screen. These are pretty common abbreviations. The chapter will go in to discuss these along with diseases of the endocrine system, but I'm really going to leave that for you to read. I want to talk about just a few of these and where they're produced. So ACTH, so adrenocorticotropin stimulating hormone, is created and secreted by the adrenal cortex, which is in your kidney. ADH, which is the antidiuretic hormone or vasopressin, that is produced in the kidneys as well. LH, which is your luteinizing hormone, and FSH, which is the follicle stimulating hormone, are produced by the ovaries and the testes accordingly. TSH, which is your thyroid stimulating hormone. T3, which is the trioxythyroid hormone, or just thyroid hormone. And then T4, which is thyroxine, is all produced by your thyroid, which is located in the anterior part of your neck. Some word parts that will be associated with the endocrine system are adeno or adeni, depending on what it's connected with. So that means relating to a gland. Adreno means that it's relating specifically to the adrenal glands. Calico, which is calcium, that's going to be dealing with the parathyroid hormone. The suffix crine means to secrete. The suffix dipsia means thirst. The word part glyco means glucose, as well as glycol, which is sugar, and sugar is just another form of glucose. Kali is potassium. Natro is sodium. Thyroid is thyroid. And thymo is your thymus. Moving into chapter 15, we're talking about the nervous system. Now, the nervous system is one of the most complicated systems in the body, both in structure and in function. The nervous system senses physical and chemical changes in the internal and external environments. It then processes them and then sends out a response to maintain, again, that homeostasis. The nervous system will do both voluntary activities like walking, running, and talking, but it will also do involuntary activities like digesting food, pumping our hearts for circulation, and allowing for circulation of our lungs. When we talk about the nervous system, we need to talk about the cellular structure of it. So we have to look at the nervous system in total. It is completed of two principal cell types that together make up the nervous tissue of our body, and that is a neuron and neuroglia. Neurons transmit impulses that are identified by their direction of how the impulse travels. Afferent, A-F-F-E-R-E-N-T, is when the direction is toward the brain and the spinal cord. Efferent, E-F-F-E-R-E-N-T, is the direction away from the brain and spinal cord. Neurons also have three major cell structures. They have a cell body, an axon, and a dendrite. Neuroglia are cells that are supported in the neurons, and they bind them to other neurons or tissues. They do not transmit any impulses, but they do provide a variety of activities essential to the proper functioning of the cell. The term neuroglia means nerve glue. And with that, there are four main types. We have the astrocytes, the oligodendrites, dendrocytes, microglia, and ependyma. Sorry, couldn't get that last one out. With that, your nervous system is also divided, and there are two major divisions of your nervous system. One that we call the central nervous system, the other being the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord. This system has nervous tissue that is classified as either white or gray matter. The brain is one of the largest organs in the body and is highly complex in structure and function. It is responsible for almost every physical and mental activity. It is the center for memory, emotions, thoughts, judgments, reasoning, and consciousness. There are four main structures to the brain: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, the diencephalon, and the brain stem. The spinal cord itself transmits sensory impulses from the body to the brain, and then a motor function or a motor impulse from the brain to the muscles of your body and the organs of your body. The sensory nerve tracts are called ascending tracts because they go upward, and the motor nerve tracts are called descending because they go downward. The peripheral nervous system consists of 12 pairs of cranial nerves and 31 pairs of spinal nerves. It consists of sensory neurons, which will carry impulses from the body to the central nervous system, meaning that they are afferent, A-F-F-E-R-E-N-T, and the motor neurons, which carry impulses away from the brain and spinal cord to the muscles and glands of the body, which means that they are efferent, E-F-F-E-R-E-N-T. The cranial nerves originate at the base of the brain and emerge through openings in the base of the skull. Spinal nerves emerge from the intervertebral spaces of the spinal column and extend to the various locations of your body. So a little bit more about the peripheral nervous system, because it's not confusing enough. We actually break the peripheral nervous system further into what we call the somatic and the autonomic or automatic nervous systems. So we discussed that the peripheral nervous system has 12 pairs of cranial nerves and 31 spinal nerves. But this makes up the somatic nervous system. The somatic nervous system has motor impulses that transmit to muscles under conscious control and belong to that somatic. Somatic means voluntary. We control that. Motor impulses transmit to glands and muscles that are not under our conscious control, and they belong to what we call the autonomic. Autonomic means involuntary. And as if that is not quite enough of confusion, the autonomic or automatic nervous system breaks down again into two additional systems, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The sympathetic division regulates body activities when an immediate action is required. It increases the heart rate, depth of the breathing, and the muscle strength. This system is also what we call our fight or flight system. The parasympathetic division decreases the rate and intensity of the process. This is what we call the rest and digest stage. Here are some of the word parts that you will hear within the nervous system. So we have cephalo, which is referring to the head as a whole, cerebello, which is pertaining to the cerebellum, cerebro, which is pertaining to the brain, encephalo, which is pertaining to the brain because that is inside of the head. En means inside. Glio is neurological tissue. The suffix elpsia or elpsy means attack or seizure. Lexo means words. Meningo means meninges. Melio means or referring to bone marrow or spinal cord. Narco means numb or sleep. Nerve means pertaining to the nerves of the nervous system. We also have neuro and neuri, which is pertaining to the nerves of the nervous system. Paresis is a slight paralysis. Pherino or pherinae is the mind. Suffix plagia means paralysis. Plexi means stroke or seizure. Word root psyche or psycho is pertaining to the mind. And schizo is denoting something split or double-sided. And our last chapter for today, or this week, is going to be those special senses. General sensations perceived by the body include that of touch, pressure, pain, and temperature. These sensations are not identified with any specific site to the body. Specific sensations like sight, taste, vision, hearing, and equilibrium. Each is specific to a specific organ or organs or a structure of the body. This chapter will discuss those related to the eye and the ear, the eye being related to vision, and the ear being related to hearing and equilibrium. The eye is the first one we're going to talk about, and this is a globe-shaped organ composed of 3 distinct tunics or layers. The first tunic or layer is the fibrous tunic. This is the outermost layer of the eyeball, and it serves as a protective coat for more sensitive structures that are beneath. This layer will include the sclera, cornea, and conjunctiva. The sclera is the white of your eye. The cornea is one of the few body structures that does not contain capillaries and must rely on the eye for fluid and nourishment. The conjunctiva covers the outer surface of the eye and lines the eyelids. The second tunic or layer is the vascular tunic. This is the middle layer of the eyeball, and it is also known as the uvea. This consists of the choroids, iris, and ciliary body. The choroids provide the blood supply for the entire eye. The iris is the color contractile membrane with a perforated center called the pupil. And the ciliary body is the circular muscle that produces aqueous humor. And the third and final tunic is the sensory tunic or sensory layer. This is the innermost layer and is the delicate double-layered retina. The retina is responsible for the reception and transmission of visual impulses to the brain. It has 2 types of visual receptors, rods and cones. Rods function in dim light and produce black and white vision, where cones function in bright light and actually produce our colors. Next, we have the ear. The ear is the sense receptor for 2 senses, hearing and equilibrium. Hearing is the function of the cochlea, and this is a snail-shaped structure filled with fluid called the perilymph. The equilibrium is the function of the semicircular canals and the vestibule. The ear consists of 3 major sections: the outer ear, the middle ear, which is also called the tympanic cavity, and the inner ear, which is the labyrinth. The outer ear conducts sound waves through air. The middle ear conducts sound waves through bone, and the inner ear conducts sound waves through fluid. The inner ear consists of a system of fluid-filled tubes and sacs, as well as nerves that connect these structures to the brain. It will look like a maze, therefore it was given the name labyrinth. This rests inside of the skull bones and not only includes the cochlear system, which is devoted to hearing, but the vestibular system, which controls balance with the eye and eye movements, which is where your equilibrium comes in. Here are some of the special senses words and word parts that you will hear. We have accuso, which is referring to hearing, acusi or acusia, which is again hearing, ori, which is pertaining to the ear, belpharo, which is the eyelid, cor, and coro, which are all pertaining to the eye's pupil, dacro, which is tear, irid, which is iris, myringo, which is eardrum, oculo, which is pertaining to the eye, ophthalmo, which is pertaining to the eye, and opia, which is a suffix meaning vision, optico, which is pertaining to the chemical properties of the eye, the suffix opsio, which is vision, oto, or atto, which is pertaining to the ear, phaco, which is lens or shapes of the lenses, and tympano, which is the ear drum. Now, one of the other things I want to give you is this sort of general abbreviations because you're going to want this slide for your course project this week. So these are common abbreviations that are used by providers when it comes to medications and other names. The important ones that are going to be used here are going to be the ones in columns 2 and 3. So with that, we're talking about this column here and this column here. Biggest ones being BID, TID, QID, and OD. So respectively, BID is twice a day, TID is 3 times a day, QID is 4 times a day, and then OD is once a day. So I would highly recommend that you pause the recording here, either write those down or take a screenshot of them, whatever you need to do so that you have them for your course project assignment. Speaking of assignments, let's talk about what you have for homework this week. So the first thing that you have is your Module 3 discussion board. This initial posting is going to be due on Tuesday, January 17th by midnight. Please make sure that you are reviewing and answering all of the questions and all parts of the questions on the discussion board itself. And then make sure you're replying to at least one classmate. 2 is really the golden standard, but I will accept 1 reply post to a classmate Saturday, January 21st by midnight. Please remember that I will not accept any discussion boards after that due date of January 22nd. And hopefully you have reviewed the 2 previous discussion boards with their rubric so you know what you have to do for additional maybe follow-up or maybe what you need to do to receive the most appropriate grade. You have your Module 3 dictation assignment. Remember with that you are given patient scenarios verbally and you have to answer the questions that follow. It looks like a quiz but does not have a time limit, but you do only get 1 attempt at that. Your Module 3 course project this week is on medical histories. Again, you will download that Microsoft Word document. You will fill in the answers based upon what you found throughout that medical history. And if you will need to make sure that you do have those references at the end and submit the Word document once it is completed. You have a Module 3 quiz, which again you get 1 attempt and it is timed, and then the live classroom assignment. So you will participate in the live lecture that is going to be on Tuesday, January 17th, or watch the recording of that live classroom and then put in the live classroom code word that will appear at some point during that live lecture. All right, guys, that is what I have for you. If you have any questions, please make sure that you do reach out to me either via email or phone. And I hope that you all have a great week 3. Bye, everybody.